There's one big thing that's often overlooked by photographers as we work to progress and to succeed and get better. And it's so easy to fall victim to because we concentrate so much on camera, lenses, gear, tech, settings, all those things that we learn over time, that we improve on over time and get better, but it doesn't necessarily make us a better photographer. And I'm not talking about just composition, some of the rules that are applied to photography, those type of things. There's a basic tenet, a basic principle that needs to be applied if we really want to become a better photographer. It applies to a lot of other things in life. It's helped me along. It's helped me throughout my career. And so I want to share that with you today. And that's what this episode is all about. For those that don't know me, my name is Nathan Kuhl. I'm a professional real estate photographer in Southern California. And after shooting literally thousands of homes here in the local area, I can tell you that there's been roadblocks along the way, some things where I fell flat on my face, picked myself back up. But by following this one basic principle, it really has helped a lot. It has made a huge difference in how I grew as a photographer, but it was a hard thing to accept. And it was not really too hard to put in place, but it's something that you can also apply as well. Now, when I tell you what this is, you're gonna look at me kind of strangely, and so it's gonna be a little counterintuitive, so please bear with me because I want to explain it and what I mean by it, and then also how you can apply it to your work as a photographer as well. This thing is very simple. It's simply you need to try to fail. Now I know that may seem counterintuitive. Like I said, it might not make a lot of sense, but you have to realize that what we do is we're concentrating all the time on getting better. We're getting better, and we become myopic on the work that we're doing. We look at what we've done, and we go, oh, that's pretty good. And it is because you're progressing. You're doing stuff better. Every time you try something, you go out, you shoot more stuff, that does become better, but some things aren't. And you're also going to find yourself in some very difficult situations where just by progressing that standard path is not going to help you, and it will make things worse. When things go wrong, that's a good thing, but those usually happen by accident. So when you're trying to fail, you're actually inducing this situation that can lead to success. Yeah, I remember a long time ago, when I was learning how to surf, eons ago, I remember somebody telling me, learn how to wipe out. And I was like, I don't want to wipe out. They were like, learn how to wipe out. And sure enough, I knew eventually you're going to fall. You're going to hurt yourself if you don't know how to wipe out. But more importantly, something that came out of there, an unintended consequence, was that I got better at surfing. So by actually practicing over and over again what I was going to do in wipeout situations, it helped me not just recover quickly from getting hurt in wipeout situations, but also then to become better at surfing. So how does this really work when it comes to photography? It's a little bit different. It is unique, but it has some standard traits of human psychology that you can overcome to really use this to your advantage. As it applies to photography, there are three main points. First and foremost on this is that you need to find your weaknesses. When you seek out failure, you will start identifying, if you're honest with yourself, what you're not that good at. One of the things that I hear all too often from photographers who can't do window pulls very well is that window pulls aren't necessary. They just aren't that good. Well, that's your typical Aesop's fable of the fox and the grapes. It's also known as cognitive dissonance. You're falsely justifying and rationalizing why you won't do something because of a competing thought. And that's a competing thought that you have a hard time justifying and really coming to truth with, and that's that you're incapable of doing it at the moment, just for right now. Just like the fox in Aesop's fable, Fox and the Grapes, couldn't reach the grapes, walked away saying, well, those grapes are probably sour anyways. That's where sour grapes comes from, if you didn't know the term. But anyways, the idea is that the fox had to justify to himself, well, I'm a fox, I'm strong, I can do great things. I couldn't get those grapes, well, they're sour anyways, who needs them? Don't do that with your photography. If you aren't that good at window pulls, practice window pulls. You can do them. You've got the tech to do it. I almost guarantee that you do. If you've got a camera, you've got a flash, you can do window pull if you practice and you try hard and make that happen. You're not good at flash photography? Try flash photography. Work on it, work on it. Find those weaknesses that you're not that good at and use your home as your lab. I say this time and again, is that if you just practice at home, don't worry about cleaning it, don't worry about staging it, you're not going to share these photos. This is for your own experimentation to try to fail. Find your weaknesses, identify those weaknesses. Don't justify that it's okay to have those weaknesses, but try to improve and know that you can. If there's something you're really struggling with, and no matter how much practice you put into it, you're still not getting it right, there's some options. One, just search my YouTube channel. I've got a ton of videos here of different ways to approach things with real estate photography, tips, tricks, all kinds of techniques to guide you through a lot of what it takes. Some of my experience that I've shared here. I've also, written an entire series on real estate photography. I've got links to all the books, pertinent videos that you might want to take a look at. Also, I've got all that down in the description for this video. So either through my books or through my videos here on YouTube, you might find some answers to some of the things you're having problems with. And of course, a lot of you know you've come to me for training, and I do provide that remote online coaching. But that's all there. It's a matter though of really putting a lot of this into practice. Just buying a book, just watching a video won't do anything for you unless you try and you try and you try again. So practice does make perfect. The second item here, when it comes to trying to fail and why you need to try to fail and why you need to practice it, it's more than just your photos, it's your gear. You need to have what I call gear familiarity. Let me give you an example, and it goes back to a little stint that I had in the military. I was in the Ohio National Guard, had to go to basic training, long story for another time. But when I was in basic training, there was something that drill sergeant used to say, and everybody had to stop and follow his instructions, and it was called immediate action. So he'd yell out, immediate action, immediate action. And boom, what that meant was your M16 jammed and you have seconds to get it unjammed. In that basic training though, those very simple tenets, when I was 18 years old and drill sergeant yelling for immediate action, it reminded me so much, everything throughout life, where it's like, well, okay, I want to read my entire auto manual in case my car breaks down, what's going to happen? I will do the same thing with my camera manuals. What happens? I want to know every item in the menu. And if something goes wrong, what do I do for immediate action? You have to be very quick on something that goes wrong. Did you accidentally set something wrong and you need to go back and set it? If you're going to have any gear for any type of trade, and photography in general, is that you need to be very familiar with it so that when you have a failure on site, you know how to recuperate very quickly. So go through the menus on your camera. Go through various scenarios and see, well, something didn't work. And the more you practice, the more accidents will happen. So practice, practice, practice on the first item that I talked about. And sure enough, you'll find some weird stuff happening from time to time with your camera. Go, oh, that's what it is. All I need to do is yada, 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 and you'll figure it out. So become very familiar with your gear. Don't just buy it. Don't just use it. You buy a new lens, you buy a new camera. Don't take it into the field with you on a job yet. Use it at home. Try it. See how it differs. Make sure that time and again, you can get repeatable results, and when something goes wrong, you can take immediate action. Third item on here is what I call edit rescue. And that may sound also like a military term, but the idea is that you have to understand enough about editing so that when you get footage back and you go, oh, I didn't realize that while I was on site, you can fix it. So this also goes back into practice. You need to shoot a lot of footage. You need to walk through the various tools that you might not think that you have to use. Go through a lot of tutorials, see these different things. The more arrows that you have in your quiver, the more tools you have in your shed or your bag of tricks, the more edit rescue you can do. So this is very important. Especially, don't just rely on outsourcing editing. You know I'm not a fan of that for a lot of reasons, other videos that I've had on that. More importantly, and most importantly, is when something goes wrong, which it will, is that you have to be able to recover from it in a bad case scenario. That includes what your editor, if you're outsourcing, couldn't be able to do for you. So be aware of that, and these are the things that if you just practice it, remember, it's not a matter of putting your stuff out there and asking people to find fault with it. In today's society, in social media, that's just a waste of time in my opinion. You're not going to get honest opinions. You're going to get people that are up late at night they're drinking alcohol and everything else, right? They're not in a controlled environment to actually give you then constructive criticism for a lot of people that put stuff out there. So I'm not a fan of that. What I am saying is that you need to be your own self-critic. You need to be able to take a look at your work and know, it's like, realize, could I do better? Is that something, do I really know what I'm doing here? You know what? I'm not too happy with the window pulls. I'm not too happy with how my flash stuff was turning out. I want to improve on that. Admit it to yourself. Don't justify it. Admit it to yourself and then work towards solving that problem. You'll never be able to solve a problem unless you can admit that there is a problem. Become very familiar with your gear. Know it inside out. It should be like the back of your hand. Even if you're doing weddings. A friend of mine once told me he shot 175 weddings in his short career doing that, and he said shooting weddings is like shooting a riot. So you have to move very quickly. Real estate photography too. You have clients that are tapping their toes waiting for you to get out of the house. The last thing they want you to do is, I got to run back out to my car and get some more things to fix this thing. You need to take immediate action. And of course, when you get back, you got to know how to fix things. Work on your editing, practice your editing. Follow these simple things, and I guarantee you, within no time, if you do practice and apply this, you will become a better photographer.